up guys, John here from Heavyset Tactical, and today I'm out on the trail doing a little knife demonstration and review for you with the Work Tuff Gear Dregoth and the Work Tuff Gear Nomad Camp 12. One of the knives I'm carrying on my belt, which is one of my favorite setups for carrying when I'm hiking, when I'm working, things like that, when I'm on a job site, because I know I can cut anything industrial wise with it, and that convex edge is going to hold up great. This is the Reef Knives F4. This is their CPM3V version. Now Reef Knives does have the new Magna Cut version, and that is the version that features the scales that you see here in my Carta. I have an extra set of scales, so I put it on the 3V version. Usually it comes with G10, you know, the OD green G10, but I just wanted to show you guys the Reef F4 is one of my favorite everyday carry, kind of hard use knives. So let's get started, shall we? What's up guys, John from Heavyset Tactical, and today we're doing two knife reviews. They're a little more brief than I'd like them to be, but still. We're going to show you two knives today by Work Tuff Gear, one of which is the Dregoth, and the other is the Nomad Camp 12. Now the first one, the Dregoth, let's pop it out of the sheath, show you what it looks like. The Dregoth actually dropped today on December 15th. It is an excellent, excellent piece of just behemoth steel. And I'll have more info at the end when I do specs and size. This one's in SK85. Again, worktuffgear.com. They dropped today on December 15th. Let's take a look at the Nomad Camp 12. Now this is the Work Tuff Gear Camp 12, Nomad Camp 12. This is one of my favorite Work Tuff Gear blades. It's designed, the knife that I love so much, the EDC, the Nomad EDC, is by the same designer. It has that very signature thumb scallop there right above the handle that I like so much. So this is the Nomad Camp 12, and this beast is in I believe K340. Yeah, K340 steel, which is another one of their really hard use steels. Nice convex edge. These blades were sent to me by Scab over at Choir Boys Cutlery to do a test video on today. So we definitely want to take a minute to thank Scab. He's a really great guy and definitely looks out for us smaller channels. So let's get started. What's up guys, John from Heavyset Tactical, and today we are taking the Work Tuff Gear Dregoth out for a little spin today. This has a special blade finish. It's almost like a camo acidic finish that I really have just become a fan of. Now this is one of those blades where you might find yourself saying, what's the need for this? What is this blade for? And it's funny because it's one of those designs that's a little eccentric that I wasn't sure if I was gonna like or not, and I really do. It has the perfect handle and weight to it. It's actually, it reminds me in the hand almost like a mountain lion, which is my favorite blade by Work Tuff Gear. It's very, very usable. It's not too heavy at all. It has a really thick handle profile, and I'll go over the specs of that handle profile at the end of this video when I do the tabletop review and specs and pricing. But really, really nice natural micarta liners, or natural G10 liners, and it has this ribbed black and green G10 that I really like. Very similar color setup and color scheme to my Nomad EDC by Work Tuff Gear. Like always on all their knives, super sharp spine on this one. I really like the placement of the fuller. You know, I think it's just one of those knives that looks really intimidating, but when you kind of start using it, it almost has a blade that's set up like a tracker knife. So you have that really nice spot there for, you know, if you're doing a little bit of carving and you have that nice finger choil, you can kind of stay right in that right in that bowed space there and not lose your piece of wood or whatever you're cutting. So I do like that. I like that swoop there. Then it has this big belly on it. You know, that's just a chop master right there. Chops right through anything that you're going to put in front of it. So again, there are uses to having an eccentric blade like this. Now, one thing that I do like about it is that there's almost a fuller cutout. If you can see that swoop right there, there's almost, or I'm sorry, not a fuller, a swedge cut out of the top of here to, I think, reduce some of the blade weight. So you can see it's that really thick profile, and then it thins out to the tip. Still a really bulky size tip on it, nice sharp spine, but it allows you to get a hand out here for if you're using this for clearing off bark or doing whatever you're doing with it, utility wise. And that flared out blade profile gives it a lot of weight up front for a really good chopper, but it's also got a thin enough profile where it's like really slicey. I like it. So we're gonna do just a little bit of batoning with it. We're also gonna check out the Nomad Camp 12 today. This is some really gnarly walnut that I have that's super dried out, waterlogged, and funky. So that'll be a nice little kind of test for how easily it batons. I got pieces of my baton breaking off. Oh, that's a nasty piece of wood. I'm right here. That's how you can tell that this wood is nasty. Super fibrous. Real fibrous, real dense wood. It's just nasty stuff to baton through. Plus I picked a piece with an enormous knot on it just to kind of gnarl this blade up a little bit. So that was me batoning out on that kind of mushroomed out belly. I'm gonna come in right in front of that finger choil and baton there a little bit. See how that goes. I actually like that a little bit more than batoning out on the tip. Because of the blade profile, that tip, as you come into the wood, when you're out on that tip, it kind of wants to push the handle down this way or kind of run it the other way. It's almost balancing on that tip a little bit. And it's funny, this is one of those knives where kind of doesn't matter what you're using Work Tuff Gear wise. Doesn't matter how big the knife is, they always have a really elegant kind of elegance about them, elegant use about them. So it's you can definitely stay right in that pocket, almost like a tracking knife tracker, and use that to do your feather sticking. I like it. It's a very, very eccentric knife, but for chopping, it has this really nice swedge on the back, and it's almost like a bird's beak with the back ramped out, just because it knows you're going to be chopping with it. You can keep that pinky right there. Very comfortable. It's a very straight knife. So let's go do a little chopping with it, see how it fares. A little bit about the Dregoth. We got it out here. We're going to do some chopping. Now this is old wood, you can hear it. And like when you're chopping, always be careful to come down on your leg. You could really cause some problems for yourself that way. I've seen some guys get really hurt that way, and I've almost hurt myself that way. And again, watch your left hand, because you can skim off and hit yourself. So always either keep it back or in a better spot, like up here, if I'm going to be chopping here. This is what I was batoning earlier. This is that red, real fibrous, dense wood. Now again, guys, when you're swinging something like this, be mindful that it could easily fly out of your hand. So I usually like to use a lanyard on my bigger blades like this, but today I didn't take the time to tie lanyards on these. But just be mindful of that. Safety first. It's definitely a nasty little blade. It's good for a lot of things. Look at that tip. Not the heaviest tip, but definitely a brutal. No issues. You're never gonna take an SK85 blade. Yeah, this is the SK85. Like I always say, you're never gonna take an SK85 blade from Work Tuff Gear. Never gonna take it and not be able to do one inch swing. 1 inch swing on all stuff you're delimbing that's an inch, and you're never gonna take an SK85 blade from Work Tuff Gear and crack the tip off. It's just not gonna happen. I mean, it could happen if you really tried, but it's not gonna happen doing, you know, everyday tasks on the trail or camping tasks or bushcrafting tasks or things that you and I are gonna be doing in review videos for the most part. Now, what we're gonna check out today for the second blade I brought out. This was also another blade sent to me by Choir Boys Cutlery, Scab, aka Scott over at Choir Boys Cutlery. Really solid guy. This is the Nomad Camp 12. Now, when Scab over at Choir Boys told me he wanted to send me the Dregoth because it drops today on December 15th, when he told me he wanted to send it to me, I brought up the Nomad Camp 12 because I saw him do a review on it and I figured he had one. Now, the reason I asked him about this Work Tuff Gear blade is because one of my favorite EDC knives that I own, that I have ever carried in my life, is the EDC, the Nomad EDC, which is designed by the same designer as the Nomad Camp 12. Very similar ergonomics, has that really nice thumb scallop up top there for you to put your thumb in. Just a really comfortable blade. So I kind of figured that, and I'm blanking on the designer of it. I'll put it in the end of the description. You know, my tabletop review at the end there, but just an excellent knife. And the ergonomics, like I said, are just really enjoyable on this. So we're gonna do just some minor batoning and a little bit of chopping and just see how if it fares as nice as I thought it would. Now this is a little different than the Dregoth. The Dregoth has almost a tactical-esque tip. The tip is really slicey, that bowed out majority of the tip. It actually comes to a thinner width. This one is kind of just one of those thick monsters. This reminds me of a different type of blade that's almost more like the Mountain Man or the Grizzly. It's just a chopper, but has a lot of grace to it. And again, I promise you guys, if you have large to extra large to extra large hands, if you guys have bigger hands or meaty hands like me, the ergonomics on Work Tuff Gear blades is just crazy. It's worth the buy itself. So let's do a little bit of batoning and see how this fares here. Again, this is that walnut that's all dried out and just fibrous and nasty. Just rock hard. Super old wood. It's been on that downed tree for quite some time. One thing that's nice about these blades, when you have a super thick blade with a thick profile like this, yeah, you might have to swing a little bit harder to get it started, but you can kind of balance the blade on what you're batoning. So instead of a smaller knife where I have to push down with my hand and hit this side, so you feel a lot of that shock in your wrist, with these, I hardly have to put any pressure on the left. Now I want to baton something a little more delicate and kind of see how that goes too. This is some more fresh walnut. Man, this is just excellent for, I wish I had to make a spindle, you know, a platform to do a friction fire on, because that is just your that's what you're looking for right there. Perfect. I'd put a little flat area here, take that off, and man, what a nice platform. So we're gonna take this down again, and then probably one more time. Man, so simple. This is a really excellent batoner. Really comfortable in the hand. There's something about Work Tuff Gear, their handle ergonomics, they almost make them for like a mammoth of a guy, but they work out really well for even a medium hand. I just hope you guys can see that handle profile a little bit, and I'll do a close-up later. It's just super, super comfortable. I'm really enjoying using this blade. Sorry about my sniffling. It's pretty chilly and windy up here on the hill. So now I'm gonna have the camera come a little closer into what I'm doing, just a little bit, and then I'm gonna do some feather sticking, try out. I'm telling you guys, there is something about Work Tuff Gear's big blades and the ability for really, really nice curls that you can get out of that. And I think a lot of it has to do with that convex edge. I think that, you know, having a convex edge, a lot of really good Scandinavian companies like, you know, Falkneven knives and what's another great bushcrafting blade? You know, some of the classics like Bark River, Falkneven, they're all about their convexed grinds. Now this is not a convexed. This is a really, really large saber, a really high saber, but the edge is convexed. So that's not a straight cut bevel. It's a rounded bevel. And that's where some of this excellent feather sticking ability and grace comes in to play. Just super comfortable. Just lay that big blade across that wood and kind of run it down and let it do the work. Just really nice. What an excellent blade. I love a balance between really, really, really strong and really, really, really able to do smaller tasks. Just excellent. So you can do all the big batoning and chopping, then you can run it down and get your feather sticks in. Man, what an excellent knife. If you really had to do a little bit of carving with it, you could. It's got kind of a funny, obtuse tip on it. See how that bevel comes out? Then is the nice long sweep. So you have a nice cutting edge, and then that really strong tip there. Just a monster, guys. That is the Work Tuff Gear Nomad Camp 12. So guys, one thing about these knives, like I always say, and I just said for the Dregoth, is always be careful. Don't be stupid. Think about the trajectory of and the path of where this blade can go. So I'm gonna just do some chopping here just to show you how nice this grabs. And again, this is the Nomad 12. This one has a more pronounced bird beak on the end that kind of flares back, so you can, it's a lot less likely to come flying out of your hand. But I got a dead sapling here, and I just want to do a little bit of chopping. Oh. Man, just keep rotating. Isn't that nuts? That's why I say to watch out for your safety, because this thing, when you get that big heavy blade going, man, this is just, when you get that big heavy blade going, you know, it takes a lot of force and a lot of flesh to stop it. It's just a slicer. Just trying to show you guys how. It's a very, 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 very slicey blade that digs in really hard. Okay. Now, guys, like almost all of Work Tuff Gear's blades, these have a really nice sharp spine the whole way down for striking a ferro rod. Both of them do, the Dregoth and the Nomad Camp 12. So we're going to check out the Dregoth first. Man. Definitely strikes a ferro rod. Super good. Now we got the Nomad Camp 12. That also strikes really good. So now with a big blade like this, the reason it looks like I'm doing it so goofy is because you'll take your kindling or your fat wood and have it on one side like that and then strike this way. Oh. There we go. So it's definitely super useful. I think the spine on the Dregoth was a little bit sharper. So you can get really nice strikes on here. Now this is a cheaper ferro rod. If I had my thick 6" by 1/2 inch, I could really take some meat off, but this one I'm afraid of breaking all the time. I just wanted you guys to be able to see that the spines are definitely a nice 90-degree sharpness on both of these knives, so you can start your fires and do all your firework with them. Excellent blades. Alright guys, John from Heavyset Tactical. This is the end of my video where I normally do specs and pricing. This is the Work Tuff Gear Dregoth, dropped today, December 15th on worktuffgear.com. This is, I'm just going to run through the specs and then we'll go through the price at the end. Overall inches, 15.4 inches overall in length. The blade length is 9 inches. The blade thickness at its thickest point right off of the scales here is 0.23 inches. It is in SK85 steel, which is a really good carbon steel, a really good hard use steel. So I'll let you guys see a little bit of the handle profile there too, and blade profile. Excellent, nice full handle. So the thickness is 0.23 inches, SK85. It's a saber grind with a convex edge, a really nice polished convex edge. The handles are G10 with really, really nice kind of natural or brown G10 liners. It's 26.2 ounces by itself, and this Kydex is, like always with Work Tuff Gear, amazing fit. Almost no rattle on a big knife, and in the Kydex it is 32.2 ounces. So this whole package here on worktuffgear.com, $249, so $250 for this bad boy. Now let's move on to the Nomad Camp 12. It's almost hard to fit in frame. This is the Work Tuff Gear Nomad Camp 12. Comes in an excellent fitting Kydex sheath. Both of these knives sent to me for testing by Scab over at Choir Boys Cutlery. Shout out to Scab. This is the Camp 12. Now there is a Nomad Camp knife that was a smaller build of this, a smaller version of this. Then they came out with the Nomad Camp 12. So this is the bigger one. This is in K340 steel, which is a 57 to 59 HRC scale rating for hardness. It is 17 0.75 inches overall. The blade is 12 inches with a cutting edge of 12 inches exactly. It's quite a hefty blade. Really like that belly on there with that kind of obtuse tip that they cut out. Really love this blade style. The thickness is just a little bit thicker than the Dregoth. It's 0.25 inches, so 1/4 inch thick, and it's 25.6 ounces. And then realistically, it didn't say the weight with the sheath, but you could add about maybe 10 ounces on top of that for the sheath, usually. Probably a little less than 10, so maybe like, 33 and 34 ounces with the sheath. The handle profile on this one was a little bit more enjoyable for me because it was a little easier for me to get my hand around. This handle profile compared to the Dregoth, I'll show you here. The Dregoth is for guys with enormous hands. My hands are big, but they're not enormous. They're very meaty. So sometimes it's kind of a problem. But I'll show you these next to these. You can see the swell on this one is in the center. The belly on this handle profile is a lot thicker. It's very thick. You can see my fingers don't even come back and touch my palm. There's about a finger worth of skin still open there. Then, real quickly, I wanted to bring up this, the Dregoth, excellent blade. This blade actually surprised me quite a bit. I really enjoyed the handle. And it was made by one of my favorite new knife makers, is the guy that made the, you can see the maker's mark on the Nomad 12, and here, that is the maker's mark of Zeke Minacho. And this is my favorite EDC knife that I own. Scab from Choir Boys Cutlery went on and on about it. I missed the drop, and then I was able to get one on the fan page on Facebook. So I really ended up loving it. This was made by the same guy, Zeke Minacho. So you can kind of see that thumb scallop, that thumb cutout profile is very similar on both. So I hope you guys have a really great week. And this Camp Nomad is $299. So the Dregoth was $250. This is $299, $300. So like always, guys, I hope you enjoy my videos. Don't be afraid to like and subscribe. And you know me, like always, stay safe and stay heavy.